Alright, so I know that this is quite a bit different from my normal video. I'm making a ranking video off of all the killers in Dead by Daylight, and uh, based off the title of the video, you can probably tell I'm splitting this into 5 different parts. The reason being, lately I've not had enough time to make different videos. So I've decided that once a week, on one day, we'll just take 1 or 2 hours at a time to record videos, and then take those 2 hours and split it up into multiple videos, such as this one. Okay? That's why it's in 5 parts. And just so you're aware, this is only for the average console player. I say that because of the fact people who rank the killers tend to be professional players, and majority of the players in the game are not professional. I'm trying to put this game into the point of view of the average player and doing it for console because I'm a console player. Okay? Great. Let's get started. Alright, at the number 25 spot we have Leatherface, or as the game likes to call him, the Cannibal. The reason for me having him this far down is simply because all Leatherface is just a slower hillbilly with a bigger hitbox. Now, bigger hitboxes could be greater in some situations, but for Leatherface, it is not. Oftentimes, you have to make sure that you are within a good distance away from any objects, and this is bad considering that you're going to be in loops most of the game. You unfortunately are not going to be able to squeeze tight to the sides of the objects like you normally are to get fast across the loop. Another thing is since his needs to be used close up, most of the time you're not going to get a very good use out of it. People are going to know you're coming, and unlike Hillbilly where you can zoom across the map in an instant and you can get a sneaky hit in with Hillbilly, Leatherface, there is no sneaky hit. They will know you're coming and they will be out of the way by the time you get a chainsaw hit in. Chainsaw hit is also pretty useless for breaking down pallets considering it has about the same amount of time. Because objects are not your friend, it'll put you into a very long fatigue state, and ultimately his power honestly kind of makes him worse. And any power that makes your character worse in any way, shape, or form means that your character is most likely bottom tier. At number 24, we have the Blight. And this one is going to be one of the more controversial picks because I understand that a lot of people tend to have him on the top of their tier lists normally. They always have them right up with Nurse and Spirit. The reason I'm having him this low, you need to remember, this is for the average player, not the pro players. Uh, Blight is one of the hardest, if not the hardest, character to master, and unlike Nurse, you don't get much reward out of mastering him. Not to mention the fact that he is very noticeable, very easy to spot, and his aesthetics and Mori kind of suck, not gonna lie. However, his power is not a complete hindrance to him. He is mostly good at mobility. He is probably one of the best mobility-based characters in the game currently. However, to use his ability offensively, I would not recommend it. He's very hard to master and not always worth it. Up next at number 23, we have the Clown. For the sole factor of his ability not really doing much for him, um, he his ability he has two basic abilities. He has the Afterpiece Tonic and the Afterpiece Antidote. Afterpiece Tonic spreads out in a large area and slows down survivors while also blurring their screen. Afterpiece Antidote does the same spread out, but it's orange instead of purple, and it speeds up both the survivor and killer's movement speed after a slight delay. Me personally, I recommend just sticking with the Afterpiece Tonic. The Afterpiece Antidote takes way too long to actually activate, and considering the fact that it also helps survivors, it's basically almost useless. Um, However, his Afterpeace tonic itself is not. And the way I would recommend using it is using it right before they get to a pallet or vault, because then it'll slow them down, and if you time it perfectly, they will not be able to vault the pallet or vault the window or drop the pallet. And his tonic is actually very good at ending chases. However, unfortunately for him, that is all he has, the ability to quickly end chases. And if you don't have any bottles, you cannot do so. You would have to reload, giving your survivors ample time to run away. I'd suggest reloading bottles when there are no survivors nearby. At number 22, we have Michael Myers. The reason for him being Michael Myers' power allows him to stalk survivors, slowly gaining tiers of his power. At tier 1, he is completely undetectable, however, he has majorly decreased movement speed and lunge. At tier 2 is the same as tier 1, but he has a tier radius. And finally, tier 3, he has increased movement speed, increased lunge, increased vaulting, and he has all survivors underneath the exposed status effect. Now, when it comes to his powers, tier 2 is probably the worst out of all of them. In fact, it's a direct hindrance to him. So, you want to get out of tier 2 as fast as possible. The reason I have Michael Myers down this low is because he is completely reliant on his add-ons. Specifically, the big 3 add-ons that everyone normally thinks of when they think of Michael Myers. Scratched Mirrors, Tombstone, and Lock of Hair. Now, for Michael Myers, there's typically 2 different types of playstyles. Either those who wish to remain in Tier 1 and gain undetected status effect for the entire game. That's very good for stealth builds and is known as Jump Scares Myers and is probably the funner version of Michael Myers. There are 2 downsides to this, of course, that being the decreased movement speed and decreased lunge. However, there are plenty of add-ons and perks that help with this. However, there is one specific add-on that you will see most of the time when killers are using the Jump Scare Myers or Tier 1 only Myers, and that is Scratched Mirrors, which allows him to see through walls within a 16-meter range. This add-on is stupidly overpowered, however, it forces them to stay within Tier 1, they cannot leave Tier 1, and honestly, Tier 1 is kind of almost useless without this, because while you do gain the undetected status effect, you need to be able to sneak up on survivors without them seeing you around corners in order to get any use out of this. So you basically have Wraith, but he's not invisible, just extremely quiet. And like I said, Tier 1 is not the viable option unless you have Scratched Mirrors, plus either a mobility add-on slash perk or a lunge distance add-on slash perk. In Tier 3, like I said, he gains increased speed and lunge distance and vaulting, and he also puts all survivors under an exposed status effect, allowing you to one-shot them. This is the more viable tier, however, it is temporary. It only lasts for a small, minute amount of time. The reason why Tombstone and Lock of Hair are commonly used is because Tombstone allows you to instantly kill any survivor within your reach, and Lock of Hair allows you to have Tier 3 indefinitely. However, both of those add-ons majorly increase the amount of stalking you need to gain Tier 3. In my opinion, which, by the way, in case you couldn't tell, this entire video is mostly my opinion combined with facts. However, Michael Myers is completely reliant on his add-ons. At the number 21 spot, we have the Legion. His ability allows him to go into an sprint at an increased speed. Upon meleeing a survivor, they are forced to mend, and upon meleeing your first survivor while using his ability, you can see the location of the nearest survivor using Killer Instinct. His ability is meant to use as a chain reaction. You stab one survivor, you reveal the location of the next and run to him, and eventually get through all the survivors, making them all injured. This seems like a very good concept, having all the survivors injured, but the downside is it takes quite a long time to actually get them all injured. And by the time you have stabbed the fourth survivor, the first survivor you stabbed has finished mending, has started healing. Second survivor is across the map and has started to mend. The third survivor is probably in a locker or trying to mend at the moment, and all you have is one survivor who is injured in front of you. On top of this, you get the fatigue state, and ultimately his power is a hindrance. You lose majority of your survivors in all of your chases except for one. The only reason why he is why he's in the spot he is right now and not on the bottom is because he has increased mobility and he has the ability to basically track survivors. Those are the only reasons why he is where he's at and not at the bottom. And then finally at number 20 for today, which yes, we're only going to have 5 for each video, but at number 20 we have the Trickster. He is a projectile-based character, throws a bunch of knives, and it takes 8 knife hits to do a single injured state. He is notorious for ever since him being released, he has been a bottom tier character. He has gotten a recent buff, making it to where you only need to hit survivors 6 times with knives to injure them. However, unfortunately, due to all the disadvantages he carries, this is unfortunately not enough to put him any higher than where he is. Considering that his movement speed decreases when throwing, there is a slight startup when throwing, and I think that personally his biggest problem is his main event. Main event, the meter for main event slowly increases as you hit survivors with knives, and once full, it activates. Now, when it activates, you have a timer in which you can use main event, and upon using it, he releases a flurry of infinite knives. Your movement speed is considerably decreased, but you considerably increase the rate at which you throw knives, and like I said, they are infinite. However, once main event timer runs out, you stop and you end up with a fatigue state and you must reload your knives. The reason why I say main event is so bad is because the initial timer to use main event. Not the timer in which it is being used, but you have a set amount of time in which you can use it. I feel that main event, if they ever give a buff to it, it should be to where once you have it, you can use it whenever you want. I understand there being a timer for once you use it, but for there to be a timer for before you even use it renders it often unusable because it will activate in most of the time the worst of times when there are no survivors nearby. And unfortunately, this makes him a bottom tier character. However, he does have probably the best aesthetics and best Mori in the game. So I'm bumping him up to number 20 instead of number 21 because of that. But gameplay-wise, he is easily a bottom tier character, which is really unfortunate because he is one of the more fun characters to use. Alright, that's been it for this segment. We got through 25 through 20. Next video, we will be going from 19 to number 15. Hope you enjoyed, and whether you agreed with this or not, leave in the comments down below. And also tell me who you think will be in from 19 to 15. The end.